Okay. All righty. So welcome to our Career Fair Jam. I want to talk a little bit today about different ways that career services can help you, and also how to navigate a career fair, particularly how to have conversations with employers. So we're very happy that you're here. We're going to talk a little bit about our different events, a little bit about career services and what we have to offer you, about kind of looking to have high impact experiences, looking for resources for your first step, and then how to navigate the career fair and career fair prep. And Christy's going to talk to us about that. I'm Jackie Gist. I'm an assistant director, counselor at University Career Services. This is my email. And if you'd like to meet with me after this, please feel free to make an appointment using Handshake. And I'd like to introduce Christy Mcintosh. Christy, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and about QQ?
Sure. My name, it's Kirsty.
I'm sorry.
It's K-I-R. Not a problem at all. It happens all the time. I just wanted to make sure that since the email's up there, that if you guys wanted to reach out to me after that you had the correct email. So yeah, my name's Kirsty. I am a team lead. So I manage and a team of 6 recruiters and 2 coordinators do all the recruitment internally in the US for Q Squared Solutions. So Q Squared, their global headquarters is in Morrisville. And we are also have 5 other labs in the US, as well as we're also in 8 other countries, or 8 countries total, I should say. So we're globally, we're big. What we do is we are a contract research organization. So we work in clinical trials. So companies contract us to work with their everywhere from discovery and research development all the way through FDA approval for new treatments in clinical trials. So our motto is turning hope into help. So, and I actually have a couple of slides that I can go through if you want me to share my screen.
Sure, of course. Let me stop sharing mine, and then you're welcome to share yours. Let me give you permission to do that. Okay. And again, I'm so sorry about your name.
Oh, no, not a problem at all. I have some time.
There you go. I'm also going to ask you, Kirsty, after you go through your slides, because we have students with us today who are trying to figure out what they're going to do, or maybe they know what they want to do, you could just take a minute or two and tell us about your own path. Like, what did you think you wanted to do when you were a freshman, sophomore, junior, and how did you get here?
Well, why don't we start with that? So
okay.
let's put some human into it here. So we were talking about some of you joined a little bit later, but I am in Jacksonville, Florida. I moved here I grew up all over the place, but I moved here from South Florida because UNF has an incredible physical therapy program. And I was a PT major when I came to college. I made it through about 3/4 of my first semester and changed my major. I realized that was not what I was cut out to be. Ironically, chemistry and I did not get along, neither did calculus and I wish that I had stuck with it or at least paid a little bit more attention in chem class, because now as a recruiter, I'm learning things like liquid chromatography and mass spectrometry and bioanalyticals and all kinds of things that I have to sort of understand so that I can talk to people about the positions that they're looking at. So it's funny how it comes full circle back to you. But no, as you know, I ended up majoring in psychology and I minored in sociology. I did not know exactly what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to do something with people and helping people. I didn't know what capacity that would be in. I was always business minded. So it ended up moving into, after I finished school, moving into working with people with disabilities on their employment. So we would actually work with businesses, and we would also work with the adults with disabilities, and we would make a business work, not make them work with them, but sometimes we would create positions within the business that could be a fit for them, or we would help that person in order to apply for jobs. And then I moved into more of a corporate recruitment, and then moved in with Q Squared and all of that. So you never know where your path is going to take you.
That is so interesting, because I worked with people with disabilities on employment issues before I came to career services as a career counselor.
Yep. So all that I can say is that just get all the knowledge that you can from school, whatever it is, with any opportunities that you have, take them all in, because I promise you, at one point or another, you'll use it.
Thank you.
So let's go through this a little bit. Do you have any questions on that?
Please feel free to ask questions.
I'm very nice. I promise I won't get mad.
This is a small room. This is like, let's just pretend we're all sitting around together in a lounge somewhere and chatting. So please feel free. You will later, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of wanted to talk through kind of what our recruitment looks like, and then give you some tips on ways that you can be successful as you're out looking and talking with people and gaining all of this experience. So on average, we have, as a company globally, we have probably about a little over 11,000 people or so just view our Glassdoor page a month. We've globally this year to date, since January 1, we have onboarded over 1,100 new employees, and we are slotted to add probably an additional 400 or so by the end of the year, or at least identified. They may not start until January, but identified candidates. And of that, we have on average globally about 3,000 applicants to our website.
Wow.
So, as a recruiter, you're looking through resumes, and you're looking through them not very quickly, but you're looking for keywords, you're looking for different items, different things that are on the job. So we'll talk about that in a couple minutes too. Well, let's talk about that now, actually. When you're creating your resume and you're applying to positions, you want to make sure, because we live in a world of technology, you want to make sure, as we have 3,000 applicants a month, we want to make sure that we're hitting keywords. So if you're looking for a position, and look through those job descriptions and see what those main requirements are for the job. If the job requires a PhD and 15 years of experience, as a recent grad from college, probably not going to be the best job for you to apply to. But if you apply to other positions, you want to be making sure that you're looking at what those job requirements are and what the skill sets that they're looking for, and have those skills on your resume, because we're actually looking for certain things. So say, for example, I have an open position for flow cytometry. And so I'm looking for the words flow cytometry on resumes. So if I'm not seeing that, I'm not necessarily going to push those resumes forward to a hiring manager for consideration. So those are the things that you want to be making sure that you're looking at and putting those things on your resume. As new grads, you're not necessarily going to have a whole lot of work history to put on there, but you can put on there your relevant classwork. You can put on the skills. Definitely have a skills section. For recent grads, it's what we're always looking for: certain skills that you learned while you were in classes, techniques that you might have learned in Oh gosh, I know in science they call them, lab courses. What are those extra classes that you guys have that are outside of your normal day-to-day? So practical classes, I guess, practicum, maybe?
Electives.
Yeah. So, thank you. So, put those skills on your resume and put those on there so that, we can see what that looks like. And then as far as a resume also goes, I would say, as a recent grad, you would more than likely be able to fit everything onto one page, but I would not go over two. So as your career progresses, my resume is probably about 3 pages or so. I look at resumes that are CVs for PhD students that are 15 pages long, but that's a CV, and that's listing out all of their research and publications and all of that. So definitely try to keep it down to that 1 to 1.5 pages or so. So that's a little tip for you. Any questions around resumes or what to put on it, or like tips for what you can do now in order to develop your resume for later once you graduate?
If nobody else asks, I will. What do you think is the best thing for people to do now as they're getting ready before they graduate?
Be as involved as you can. So you want to do activities that are resume building, whether or not they're volunteers or summer internships. It's very dependent on what your career path is and what you're majoring in, but you definitely want to be doing something. So definitely, like I said, the volunteer work, internships, those are the 2 really big ones that I can think of. And of course, actual employment, working. If you're involved in positions where you're researching, putting in that you're a research assistant for a professor, or if you're, working as a TA. I've interviewed some people who have been RAs, and, listed out those skill sets. So I had somebody recently that I talked with who didn't have really any relevant work experience on their resume just because they just graduated, but they did have a major in science, and they were also a student athlete, and they did work during the summer, and they also were an RA. And then I'm not saying that you have to do all of those things, but when I see those resumes like that, I can see, okay, well, this is a person that I can tell can multitask, they're able to time manage. So those are the types of things that you want to be thinking about, because that's what going in, transitioning out of school and into the real work world is. It's going to be a transition. So we want to see that you have that ability to transition pretty easily. So those are some of the things that you can capture on your resume that could help.
I would add to that list campus involvement. UNC has 800 student organizations. And when you join a student organization, don't just go to the meeting, get involved. And regardless of what skill set you want to develop, you can find a way to do that, whether it's through doing their publicity or arranging their meetings or finding speakers for them. So that's a great way. And student organization involvement can boost up your resume to get the internship, which will boost up your resume to get the job. So we're laying foundational pieces here.
I heard that we have a business major and a computer science major. What's everyone else managing or majoring in?
Could people just you could put your major in the chat room?
Yeah. Econ, okay. Computer science. We're always looking for IT. It's a great major.
And some of you may still be deciding, which is fine, and career services can help you with that too.
Yeah. You heard my story.
That's right. Okay, I'm going to go back to my slides, and Kirsty, feel free to jump in at any point.
I need to stop sharing. No, you're good.
Here we go. I will fix your name. I am so sorry. So I want you all to be very aware of all of the things Career Services has coming up this fall. This is a busy time of year for us, and we have lots and lots of workshops. This is our website. If you go to our homepage, which is careers.unc.edu, you can find lists like for today's session, as well as lots of other workshops on anything that you're interested in. We can help you with resumes, cover letters, interviewing, figuring out how to find an internship, how to figure out what you want to do. We can help you navigate fairs, talking to employers. You don't have to walk down this road by yourself. That's the main thing I want students to know, that from the time you're a first year through graduate school, if you go to graduate school, we're here to walk that road with you. These are our upcoming fairs. And as you can see, we have a lot of them coming up within the next 2 weeks. There's a part-time job fair, if you're looking for a part-time job. That's going to have a resume book with it as well. The Data Science and Analytics Career Fair is on the 15th. These are all virtual, by the way. And then our big fair is coming up on the 16th. If you're interested in graduate school or professional school, we're going to have a fair to give you information about that in October, as well as one on law school coming up in November. We have a fair that's just for doctoral and master's students coming up as well. So those are all there. I'm going to stop sharing this screen for just a second, and I want to show you something else, just in case you're not quite sure how to go to these fairs. Let me find this for you. Can you all see this? I had something weird pop up. This is, if you go into Handshake and you look under events, and then you go to career fairs, this will show you our upcoming career fairs. And then if you click on that fair, it's going to ask you if you want to go to it to register. And you simply hit on this button and it'll register you for the fair. You can also go down here, and this will explain to you how the fair works. So you click here for instructions on how to go to the fair. And then if you go further down, you can see all the employers that are coming to that fair. So there are 44 employers coming to the data science fair. And then on our other fairs, there are even more employers coming. So if we go back, and the important thing is to register for it. You can look at all the people, all the organizations that are coming to our job and internship fair. And the way the fairs work, it'll explain it to you, but you can set up a time to meet with an employer, whether it's individually or in a group. And so you need to prepare for that. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit more. So the important thing is in getting ready for the fair is to make a plan, to think all this out ahead of time so that you don't just show up and go, oh no, what am I going to do? Who am I going to talk to? So choose a time, go in and look at the schedule, choose a time, come prepared, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You're going to need to be a little flexible because maybe the time that works best for you isn't the time that the employer has a slot open, or that the employer is going to be there. So be flexible, be sure to register, go in and double check, look at those lists I just showed you and see who's coming to the fair. And then research that employer. The last thing you want to do is go into somebody's chat room and say, hi, Kirsty, how are you? Could you tell me a little bit about what Q2 does? Is that you a restaurant chain, or do you, are you a consulting firm? And you'll just throw up your hands without them seeing and go, check you off my list because you haven't bothered to do your research and find out who this employer is. So do a deep dive into who the employer is, what they do, be sure you're interested, and look at what the positions are. So know all of that ahead of time going in, and you'll make a better first impression on the employer. So you can go in, and again, you can check and see when our fairs are. And you can see all of our upcoming events. So it's real important to make a good first impression. And how do you do that? Well, you introduce yourself and you give your pitch. Now, your pitch isn't, you don't want to sound like a television commercial, or you don't want to sound like a, I don't know, some kind of yada kind of person, but have thoughtful questions based on what you know. And take notes when you're talking to them, and make sure you ask for follow-up information. So you talk about yourself, about your goals, your skills as they match the job. The best way, and this is what Kirsty just said about writing your resume, and I agree with you 100%, look at the job description, highlight the skills, abilities, experiences, characteristics that employer is asking for. And this could be different for each employer that you talk to at the fair. So if it's worth your time, it's worth spending your time well. I always tell students when they're getting ready for interviews to make a huge list of anything you can think of. Like if they're looking for, if it's a forest ranger and they're looking for somebody who can work with wildlife, you put work with wildlife down, and every time you've done anything from feed a squirrel to run a zoo, throw that in there, like have this bucket of every time. So that could be in a class where you've used that skill or developed that experience. It could be a campus organization, could be an internship. It could be a project you've done on your own. I know in computer science, a lot of people do projects on their own outside of class or a job. Those count too. So just throw everything into those buckets that you make. Now, you're not going to pour the bucket on the employer's head. You're going to go pick and choose what it is you're talking about. But and prepping for it, you have this list in front of you. So we're going to talk a little bit about your elevator speech or your introduction to the employer. But when you're talking to them, take notes so that you can remember what you said, what she said, and then ask for follow-up contact information. So
I would also add to that,
please.
that since these are going to be virtual career fairs, I would recommend maybe putting together your little introduction of yourself that you're more than likely going to have to type over and over and over again to different people, to put that into a Word document, but put it into as if you were talking to someone, not something as if you're writing a term paper. Something that's informally formal, if that makes sense, just like you and I are having a conversation, that kind of a dialogue, and put it into a Word document. So it's easy just to copy and paste it. That's a tip that I wish that I had known before I did a career fair because I kept saying the same things over and over again. And so I started putting them into a Word document, and it helped me a lot. And I was able to actually move through the process a little bit faster, and able to ended up talking to more people. So
That's a wonderful tip. And that reminds me of, in Handshake, where students write the about me part in Handshake, I've heard from Handshake educators that more and more employers are actually really looking at that. So would you suggest the same kind of elevator pitch, the same kind of introduction? They could put that in the about me section, as well as their summary in their LinkedIn profile. Those are really important and people ignore them.
Yep. Yeah, and you're never too young or inexperienced to have a LinkedIn page. So if you don't have one now, go create one. Like when we're done, go get one.
Aren't they becoming more and more important?
Oh, I live in LinkedIn. That's 90% of my job.
Exactly. And so if you were at a career fair representing your organization, after a student spoke with you, would you want them to then go into LinkedIn and follow you and follow Q2?
Yep. I tell every single person that I talk to that if you're not already, please follow us on LinkedIn. Feel free to send me a connection. You'll hear, it's social media. So you can go on to a company website and you can dive into that. You're more than likely going to get more information off of LinkedIn, or at least a better understanding of exactly what's the website's talking about through the social media part of it. So when you're doing that research before your job fair, make sure that you do look at both for those companies that you're going to be targeting.
Exactly. So LinkedIn, Handshake, and the fairs, they all join together. It's not one out of three, it's all three. That is really good to use. Make sure you ask questions when you talk to employers at fairs, but make them informed questions. Not questions about, well, tell me what this job does, or what's your company do? Instead, it would be, I saw where recently Q2 was involved in this research, resulting in this. Could you tell me more about that? Would I have an opportunity to be involved in that? Are those the kind of questions you prefer to hear?
Yeah, for sure. Those are all great questions. It depends sometimes on who you're talking to, on what they can answer. So, for me as a recruiter and part of that team, I'm not necessarily going to know about all of the technical research that's happening in California lab. Even though I work very closely with that team and I know a lot about what they do, I don't necessarily know the nitty-gritty on like all of the news things that are going out. So I would have questions that are prepared for managers that might know that, but also questions prepared for recruiters too, because a lot of times on those job fairs, you're going to be talking to recruiters as well as hiring managers. So definitely have questions like, one of the questions that I think that I get asked the most is, what do I like the most about working for the company? That's one that I get all the time, and I have a prepared question just right back for it. So, that's a good question to have. And then just other ones just about kind of, day to day of the company, growth opportunities within the company, things like the questions like that.
Thank you. So here are some samples of pitches. So Mary is telling about herself, and she tells a little bit about the her experiences. She's not going on and on and on and on and taking the whole 10 minutes, but she's giving enough of a summation of herself that the employer would be interested in hearing more about her. And the same with Joe. And Joe's saying, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. Tell me more about what you do. And that's fine for an employer, for somebody who's a sophomore, to kind of be part of that process of helping people figure out, and you could be a good match. So those are kind of honest questions. What do you think of that, Kirsty?
Yep, absolutely. Those are all good ones. I like Mary's for sure. You know, she's telling me very quickly what she's majoring in. So I've now just narrowed down a list this long to a list this long. So now I've got that set. She's telling me what position she's interested in, and she's telling me why she's interested in it, as well as what she's already done a little bit to makes her potentially a good fit. So now I'm intrigued. Now I want to know more.
Now for Joe, I think Joe's interested in, and he's trying to figure out how to develop himself over the next couple of years so that he would be kind of a good candidate for you. What would you say to Joe?
Yeah, I would tell Joe that I'm very, excited for him, and that he's taking these steps and trying to educate himself, and and then just as I'm talking to you guys about today, all the different things that you can do with resume building and getting help with your career services, because they're there to help you. That's a service that you guys get, so definitely reach back out to them too.
Another way to prepare, and we're gonna hear. I'm so sorry about your name. I am just so embarrassed.
Oh no, it's really totally fine, and not a big deal.
In preparing for the fair, and it's a virtual fair, you really need to prepare in much the same way that you would prepare for any other fair, and that means dress up. So you're not going to show up to a career fair in your sweats. Instead, wear professional clothing, and that includes a button-down shirt, maybe a tie, a nice jacket, or a nice sweater. Look nice when you show up. Sometimes professional clothes can kind of be beyond our reach, especially when you're a student. At Career Services, we have a stipend for students who are receiving need-based financial aid to help you get that interview suit. So it's on our website under resources, or you can email me, and we'll help make sure that you look the way you want to look when you go for an interview. But also remember that you're on camera. So get the cat out of the room, make your roommates be quiet, make sure that the area behind you is nice and neat, make sure your technology is working, make sure you've gone in and you've looked at those instructions in Handshake so that you understand how the fair works. Just really, really prepare in all ways for that. When we finish, I would like to invite you to please go to this QR code or our website, and we'd like your feedback on the on our program today. And I meant to copy that. Hold on a minute. Let me scroll down. And then we will take questions. It's not letting me copy it. I am sorry. But please take a second, pick up your phones, get the QR code, and please fill out the short evaluation form. So we are happy to take any of your questions today. First, I want us to thank Kirsty for being with us today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
And I know you all have questions. You can just put them in the chat room. Let's see what we got here. As an international freshman student, do I enter no for my legally authorized
to work in the US?
To work in the US. Do you know the answer to that? I don't like giving legal advice.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that you're on an OPT visa. Is that right? Is it Arjav? Is that how you say your name?
So you would need sponsorship, is that correct?
So I am far from a visa expert. So I would recommend speaking to someone within the university system that is an expert on OPT visas. However, my understanding of it is that with that, you are able to work for up to 3 years post graduation in the US. But after that, you would require sponsorship, or you would need to either, switch, become a green card holder or something to that extent. So
The best answer to that, Arjav, is to please go to the International Students Office. These work visa issues are complicated, and so we do not answer them at Career Services because the last thing we want to do is hurt you. So please go to the International Students Office and ask them your questions. So they're much better equipped than we are. I believe the question on Handshake, however, is, do you require sponsorship? But go and talk, please, to the International Students Office. And you're a freshman, so welcome to Carolina. We're glad to have you here.
absolutely.
Are there any other questions today?
Yeah, I have a question, if I may.
Wow, you're actually talking. That's great, Hampton.
Yes.
What's your question?
So yeah, I'm a senior and I'm looking for a job. And I'm kind of looking at a broad range of things that are just like business and finance related. How do I like pitch myself when I'm not like, don't have anything like super specific that I'm actually looking for?
Well, that's going to require a little bit of work. And it means that for each of the employers you speak to at the fair, you're going to want to make it specific. You're going to want to talk about, let them know you know about that company and look at the positions that they're recruiting for and be able to talk a little bit about what in your background matches that. So it's not going to be a one size fit all. It's going to require kind of some thinking through for each one. I'm sorry, that's not an easy answer. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. I mean, yeah, I know it's like looking into the company and then finding that like connection between me and them. So thank you.
It's not just the company, it's the position as well. Like
Okay.
look at the jobs that they're at the fair recruiting for and make sure that in your elevator pitch that we had talked about that you're addressing that too. Like let them know where you, and this could be classes that you took or internships or campus involvement, but it's your opportunity. Please.
Yeah, talking to them about, is there, Hampton, is there like a specific, like, you had mentioned finance. Is that, kind of what do you have a targeted like dream company that you want to work for, or a targeted long-term goal as far as career path that you want to take, or are you still just trying to figure that out?
I don't have like a target company, but I would love to do something in like business operations in the future. And then like right now, what I'm just looking for is something that sets myself up well for my next step.
Okay, why business operations, and what do you mean by that?
Like just running the day-to-day of business, working with people, like managing people. That's something that just really excites me. So.
But you want to be careful. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So you're looking for a job where you can, gain, that's a great goal. There's a lot to learn before you can get to that. So you're looking for a job where you have the opportunity to kind of learn a lot of different sides of the business, right?
Yes. And
or at least, start in a position where you're learning, engaging your skills that you currently have and advancing those, and then advance into another part of a business or even grow within the same company. Right. So those are the things that you want to talk about. So an employer is going to know, oh, this, Hampton hasn't even graduated yet. So he's proactively out looking and talking about his career advancement already. And you're looking for, this is what I want to do. Those are just things that you just need to be pitching and talking with employers about, and talking with them about, and again, back to what Jackie was talking about, researching the company and researching the particular position. And when you go and talk to them about that one, how you feel that you could be a good fit and how this could be a good jumping point for you in your career.
But you also want to be really careful not to give the message that you're just using them as a stepping stone.
Right.
Yeah. I've heard some pitches that students have given before where I'm like, no, I want to come here till I get really good at what I do. And then I want to go work for a better company or start my own. You got to be, they don't say that exactly, but that's how it comes across. So you need to be a little bit careful with that. We have a question from.
I've actually almost heard that verbatim.
I bet they didn't get the job. Yeah.
They didn't. No. They actually never even met a hiring manager.
So Hannah wants to know how you can prepare for the sessions. Again, research the company. Hannah, if you want to practice your pitch, you can make an appointment to see me and we can practice it. How about that? Would that work? And as a computer science minor, computer science skills, tech skills are really, really sought after these days. What do you think, Kirsty? A minor, you learn a lot as a computer science minor. I think companies are looking for you as well as majors.
Yeah, for sure. I wish I had a minor in computer science earlier today when I was trying to navigate and fix an Excel spreadsheet.
I think it should just be part of college.
I will say, if you don't know what the STAR method is for interviewing, I would definitely look that up. It's a quick, you can literally Google STAR method and it'll teach you, but what it stands for is situation, task, action, result. And so when you're answering a question that somebody's asking you in an interview, you want to kind of introduce the situation that you're going to explain, describe the task, explain what you did. So instead of saying, this is how I would do it, be like, this is how I would do it. And I'm pulling on my previous experience. In the past, I had this situation happen, and paint the picture for the person that you're talking to. It was this situation, and I ended up taking this initiative and doing this task. And at the end, I was able to increase productivity by 15%, those actual numbers. And so an actual result to a situation. And that in itself, the number of people that don't do that in interviews, and if they did, they would move along in the interview process much quicker. So definitely, if you do nothing else, definitely start thinking about that.
And if you come and see any of the career coaches at UCS, we can do practice interviews with you. We also have on our website, and we got to wrap up in just a second. This has been great. We have on our website a thing called Big Interview. It's in the resource section of our website. If you hit the resource button, and Big Interview, you tell it the kind of questions you're interested in being asked, and it asks them to you, and then it records your answers, and then you can watch your answers. So it's not a substitute for doing a practice interview with one of our team, but it's a really good supplement. So I would encourage you to do that. Anybody else have any questions? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm sorry. This is what I do for a living, so I can talk about it all the time. The only other thing that I would say, I know that these are mostly going to be virtual interviews. Some of them you might just actually be on chat with recruiters or hiring managers. Some of them you might actually be talking like this with them. But like when you're on the phone with someone, please smile. Smile when you answer questions. We can hear it. We can hear your excitement. We want to know that you're excited to be interviewing with us, because if you're not, we're not going to think that you're excited about the company.
So even further than that, I always tell students, dress up, stand up, and smile. Because if you're in your sweats laying on the couch, you are going to sound like you're in your sweats laying on the couch. Dress up. It puts your head in a different place. It just does. Stand up, because our voices sound different when our organs aren't all squished together. And smile, because you're absolutely right. People can hear that. So stand up, dress up, and smile.
Great.
Any other
Oh,
questions?
I actually have a question.
Sure.
So when I look up the companies that are gonna attend the internship fair on
Yeah.
the 16th. So when I look at the like the school year, and it doesn't, I mean, I'm a freshman. If the like the year that they don't put in freshmen, like they don't want freshmen, then I shouldn't really sign up for that session, because it's not gonna do
No,
anything.
I would go and talk to them. Because they could mean, one, maybe there's a slight chance you could change their mind, but also if you go and show interest this year, and then you come back next year, and you're like, you remember I talked, and then after you talk to them this year, send them a follow-up letter, a follow-up email, keep following them on LinkedIn. And then next year, they'll remember that, oh, this is that guy that was really, really interested, and he stayed in touch with us. So it's not all short term, some of it's long term.
Thank you. Because like my only concern right now, I just want like a summer internship for next year.
Mhm.
So I haven't thought about like the long term yet. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, well, it's both short and long term. We're always thinking both short and long term. It's a little harder for first years, yeah. But a lot of first, maybe you don't get your dream internship in your first year, but you can find something, and we can help you find something that's good, that's solid, that maybe will position you to get your dream internship in your sophomore and junior year. It's all building blocks. Does that answer your question?
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Well, I would like you all to unmute and clap your hands and thank Christy for joining us today. Unmute, clap your hands. We really appreciate your being here. This has been recorded, so if anybody wants to share it with your friends, just let them know. Again, my name's Jacqueline Gist. I'm with Career Services. If you need further help, you can make an appointment with me or our other counselors through Handshake. Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for participating today and inviting me. Jackie, I really appreciate it. And
I appreciate you stepping up at the last minute. That was wonderful. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you all.
You're welcome. Goodbye, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Oh, I actually have one more question.
Oh,
It's
okay.
about the about the pre-passport for business. So now I'm joining the session. So do we have to do anything to count as part of
That
it?
is not with Career Services. The business school admissions office has access to all of that, and so they're the ones who know what sessions you go to. But I would make a note of it so that when you apply next year and they ask that, for anything that's on the pre-business passport, make sure that you make a note of it and you went to it, so you don't have to go back to them and say, can you tell me what I went to? But that's, yeah, they manage that, not us.
Oh, I because like the last time I joined a session, the person from Career Services say I have to join using my UNC, so they can mark down like if I join that session or not. So I'm not sure.
Well, you do need to use, like in Handshake, when you came to this, you came to it through your UNC, your UNC account, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that you attended this will register in Handshake. And if anybody wants to check on it, they'll be able to check on it because it's registered in Handshake.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks again. Thank you all for being here. Bye.
Hi, everyone.